translate on the fly.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's fine.
Maybe I didn't make car. Okay.
I don't. I.
Oh yeah. These power companies are all about profit. They don't care about delivering services. Shocker. I talk all day.
Wow, it got quiet all of a sudden. I think we're waiting on one more person, so you can talk amongst yourselves.
I'm here.
I'll give you a subject. Rhode Island. It's not a road, it's not an island. Discuss.
I can't help you. Where's he? Are you back there? There he is. I can't see that well.
If everyone could please take a moment to ensure that your cell phones are silent, that would be really most appreciated. Esavenai eleharim me'ayin yavo ezri Esavenai eleharim me'ayin yavo ezri Ezri mihim Adonai Ose Shmayim va'aretz Ezri mihim Adonai Ose Shmayim va'aretz. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where will my help come from? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. I welcome you all today on this very sad day to Harriet's beloved family, extended family, in-law family, married family. To her, it was all family. To her, it was all friends and loved ones. She made no distinction on that. So today's ceremony is going to have two parts. All Jewish funerals basically are broken up into two parts. The first part we call kavod hamet, and that is respect for our beloved who's left this world, and that would be lovingly escorting Harriet to her eternal home. And then the second part is nichum avilim, which is comforting those who mourn, and that is a much longer process. As a matter of fact, mourning is a lifelong process. It changes, it becomes something that's a little more livable, but it's something that's always always with us. So we'll begin with Kriya, the tearing of the clothes traditionally. Where this comes from, the rending of the garments, the earliest written record of it is in the Bible when Jacob learns that his son Joseph has been killed. Now we, the reader, know he wasn't, but when he hears of it, he rends his clothing. And then throughout the Tanakh and the Bible, we see when people learn about the loss of someone, they would tear their clothing. And this is something that we've done for thousands of years. And for a large part of our history, we were desperately poor. And maybe you had two sets of clothing, one set that you would wear all week for work, and one that might be a little bit nicer that you would wear for Sabbath or holy days. And so people got very good at sewing. And that's an interesting thing because when something tears, when you get a cut, it will heal over and sometimes scar over, and it might even be tougher in that spot, but it always leaves something. It always leaves a mark that remains. And then at some point we shifted to being more symbolic about it, which is what the ribbons will represent. Normally it would be just the immediate family, the 7 closest relations, which would be a father, mother, son, daughter, brother, sister, or spouse. But I define family in much more broad sense, and we know that Harriet did as well. So any in the family that would like to participate in it, we put it over our heart, and it's something physical that we can do when we just don't know what to do with ourselves otherwise. And when we tear it, it's sort of symbolically opening up a space in our heart to allow whatever it is we're feeling, even if it's numbness and nothing, to have a path of escape. So I'm going to pass these out, and sometimes it helps to help each other, since we want to pin it over our hearts and maybe do it for one another. And then don't tear it yet. We have a blessing that we'll say together. And those who are participating can repeat after me. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Ha'olam Dayan Ha'emet. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, the judge of truth, the true judge. Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. God has given, God has taken. And through it all, we praise God's name. You can tear from the bottom. Baruch Adonai Emet, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. Blessed is the judge of truth. God has given and God has taken. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them in, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear, a time to mend, a time to speak, and a time to be silent. Proverb 31, Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, is something that's traditionally sung on Friday evening as Shabbat comes in. Husbands will often sing it to their wives. And Eshet Chayil is a woman of valor, a woman of true goodness and connection and strength. And I think Harriet most definitely would qualify as an Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. Eshet Chayil mi'imtza v'rachok mipnini michra. What a precious find is a woman of valor, an Eshet Chayil. Her worth is far beyond rubies. Her husband puts his confidence in her and lacks no good thing. She's good to him, never bad, all the days of her life. She opens her hands to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. She's clothed in strength and splendor. She looks to the future cheerfully. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and her tongue is guided by kindness. She oversees the activities of her household and never eats of the bread of idleness. Her children come forward to bless her, and her husband praises her and says, "Many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Exalt her for the fruit of her hand, and wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise." We'll hear some words from the family. Ken, would you?
My mom was a remarkable person. She always saw the good in people and always had something nice to say to everyone. She focused on the positive qualities of a person and never the negatives. She had a gift of making people feel special. Mom made a point of tracking everyone's important dates, birthdays, anniversaries, yard sites, and more, and she always took the time out to acknowledge them in a caring way. Just recently, she sent my wife and I a text wishing us a happy engagement anniversary. I remember we looked at each other saying, "That was today?" Well, that was a perfect example of her thoughtfulness, and that truly defined her. I'm deeply grateful also for the important lessons she taught me. Mom wanted my brother and I to be independent, my beloved brother Ron. At a young age, we learned to cook and clean and do our own laundry. I think we were like 10 years old. She showed us also how precious life is in our own laundry. I think we were like 10 years old. She showed us also how precious life is and how to respect every living thing, people, animals, and even small things. If there was a bug in the house or some small thing that was alive, she would take a tissue and pick it up gently and take it outside. I remember that fondly because one time I saw like a tissue on the front porch and I was like, "What's that doing there?" Well, she's also a little germ conscious, but when it came to saving something, she did. And that was a great lesson because Norma can attest to that. I do that all the time. Except maybe mosquitoes. But in South Carolina, on a hot day, and it gets hot down there, and after a thunderstorm, the worms will come out, and then the sun comes out, and I try to save everything. So if it's on the sidewalk, I pick it up. They're a little bit livelier in South Carolina. I don't know why, but they squirm a lot. And I pick that up and I gently put it in the grass and give it a chance. So you can imagine too, on a really rainy day and then a sunny day, and we go on a walk, I'm very busy. There's a lot of lives to save. I joke with Norm, I say, well, maybe for each worm that I save, I get one extra day of life. So I'm on a good run so far. Mom absolutely loved attending services and all the Jewish holidays, and so many with the people that are here today. She always said Passover was her favorite, and she never failed to ask us if she could sell our chametz, and other people's too. I always admired her positive attitude and the fact that she never complained. My wife often referred to her as a trooper. She seemingly sailed through 2 knee replacements and a hip replacement, and she made the longest trip of her life just a year ago at age 87. She was upbeat and cheerful through a 2-week hospital stay this spring, and then a big move from Beechwood, Ohio to Vitalia Montrose in Akron. And she was so happy there. We recently had a FaceTime with our nephews on Friday before she was going to Ellen Moss's for dinner, and she was just like so full of life. We had done a video or had Apple share of some photos and videos when we went golf karting around the neighborhood or went on go-karts and with our 2 nephews, Zachary and Evan, and my mom's like, I feel like I'm actually there riding the go-kart. It was so cute. She looked great that day. So many people have reached out to me, and I hear a common theme again and again about her. Kind, loving, caring, empathetic, warm, compassionate, thoughtful, considerate, loving, caring, empathetic, warm, compassionate, thoughtful, considerate, and always positive. So to honor my mom, do what she would do. Reach out and let people know you care.
I'm Harriet's daughter-in-law, Norma, Ken's wife, and I'm going to read what her sister, her dear sister Shirley, who's unable to be here, unable to travel, she lives in Los Angeles, and she wrote some comments for me to read. To my dear Schwester, dear Harriet, you and I go back together since growing up over our store at 539 East Avenue. It started out with our wonderful Hungarian parents living the decent life, making good, solid decisions for us all. Looking back, our parents cared for us in this way, with love, compassion, respect, and patience. Harriet, you definitely found the right man in Stanley B. To share your lives together from 1959 for close to 60 years. Your Stan was intelligent, bright, kind, and you radiated each other's lives. The 2 of you were the perfect match as you weaved your 2 worlds together into one. Your home was fresh, kosher, and welcoming to everyone. And yes, they did come. Ken and Ron grew up in a home filled with you 2 caring parents, and you showed your kids how you lived. This is what the boys saw, and they grew up gaining their own dignity. Your world, and ours, was turned upside down when tragically we lost your beloved younger son, Ron. His devastating loss never left your heart or mind, nor did it ours. Ron continues to touch us all. He and Dana gave you and your very special grandsons, Zachary and Evan. Harriet, you were a true friend. You cared about each and everyone's well-being, and you made sure that they were okay. You were inclusive. You never left anyone out or excluded them. What an important trait that is in this day and age. You pulled people together and made everyone feel comfortable. Harriet, dear, please, please know how loved you are and will always be by us all. I wish I could write all the good things about you that made you so special to me and to everyone who knows you. You made it easy for us to be as close as we were. Our friendship and love will continue strongly forever. I thank you, Harriet, for your love, your kindness, and giving me patience when I needed it. May you have a Lichtena Gan Eden and be at peace. I love you forever, my dearest sister Harriet. It will never be goodbye. Just toodaloo for now. Love you so much, my dear Harriet. Shirley Ann Lowry.
I have a couple of brief remarks to read from some of the other family members that could not be here. From her daughter-in-law, she viewed as a daughter, Dana Freeman. Oh, you're right here. Oh, Fryman. Harriet was the sweetest woman I've ever known. I used to describe her as sticky sweet. Sticky sweet. She always showed such a genuine interest in everyone and everything, even with my extended family and friends. All of her notes, cards, and messages were enthusiastically written with lots and lots of exclamation marks. There are several red exclamation marks around the page. The entire Malene Fryman family is so sad to lose her. And from your husband, Larry Fryman. Is he not here? Okay. From the very beginning, Harriet welcomed me and my 4 children into the Schneiderman family with open arms and many colorful heart emojis. She did that. That's cute. She was always so thoughtful, acknowledging special family events or milestones, such as uniquely Harriet writing style that always made me smile. All the Frymans felt Harriet's love. And from 2 grandsons, Zachary Schneiderman. I have such great memories with Grandma Harriet throughout my life. She and Zeta, that's grandpa in Yiddish for those who don't know that. She and Zeta would call or text us on most Friday evenings before Shabbat. She always thought of us on holidays, and whenever she visited, we would have memorable Shabbat dinners. I have so many photos of her with my brother and me that I will always cherish. Grandma Harriet shaped our lives to what it is today. I will love her forever, and she will always be in my heart. And from Evan, Grandma Harriet was so lovable. I have so many memories of Shabbat dinners with her. I'm so grateful she was able to see me perform in some of my shows and was able to be with me at my high school graduation. Our FaceTime call just a few days ago was the best. She was so happy. I will miss her and love her always. Ellen? And a few words from dear friend Ellen Moss. You got this. You got this.
So I didn't know Harriet until about 25 years ago, because we used to go to the old Beth El. She would sit in the back, I would sit in the front, but after Kiddush, we would be the only 2 left. But we would stay. We would stay until 2 o'clock, 2:30. I mean, we talked about our mother's chicken soup, our mother's paprikash, and then she would go off, because she would leave everything for Stan that he needed, and she'd go off and visit with Rose Schwartz, who she considered her grandmother, since they didn't have grandparents here. I have to tell you, 7 years in Beechwood, I would go up to the Grove, the kosher market, and I'd say, Harriet, do you want to meet me there? And we would just walk the aisles together. And then I would go home, and she'd go back. She was still driving. And I think somehow God blessed me that she came back to Akron. And I could see her and take her to synagogue. And I said, you're coming to Torah and Tea? And she said, I am. And I said, yes, you'll love it. And she did. She said, I have a doctor's appointment. I won't be able to go. And I said, okay. And, everyone will understand. And if I walked in, they say, where's Harriet? So it was wonderful. I was already planning where she'd be for Rosh Hashanah at my house. And I know exactly where she would have sat, in the back of the synagogue. I would sit in the front. And, but we would stay and talk, because Shabbat was a time for memories. And Herb and I, my husband, we became part of their family. I cannot tell you, Thanksgiving, Seders, any holiday that they were a Friday night. And my father called her the soup lady, because Harriet made the most delicious soups. And she would say, here, take some to your father. I didn't dare take any of my soup to my father. And he would say, "You're coming? Any soup from the soup lady?" Because he couldn't remember names. Harriet saved everything. I saved nothing. But I did save her birthday cards. I don't know why. She said, "I don't know why I was born on Cinco de Mayo." I don't think it was Cinco de Mayo when I was born, May 5th. So it was such a pleasure to meet Mavis and Gabriella and Dana and go to the wedding and meet Ken and Norma. And I just can't tell you, I'm so blessed. I was absolutely blessed. Harriet, I love you forever. I don't know how I'm going to go to Shabbat this week, but she came to the house Friday night for dinner, stayed until midnight because I had some young people that I invited, and they loved her stories and her relatives, and they were so important to her. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. She'd say, "You're just like my sister Shirley. You have all this energy." Well, I don't have that much energy anymore, but Shirley still does. So, hi to Shirley, and only blessings now. And she certainly left us with many. Thank you.
Ellen, you surely still have a whole lot of energy. So I only had the privilege of knowing Harriet for a few months. In fact, although she'd been a beloved member of Beth El for many, many years, and I'd heard her name tossed around, she was already living up in Cleveland before I arrived, and it wasn't until she moved back that I finally met her. And it was right here in this room. I remember that first Shabbat, she walked into the chapel, kind of right over where Sally's sitting right now, and suddenly I lost all the attention of the room, right? I'm up here and whoop, right? This energy came in, and people immediately just ignored me and ran to her, and they were hugging, and there were smiles, and there was this genuine excitement in the room. And before I even knew who it was, I had no clue, I recognized that it was somebody really, really special, someone who was deeply loved, and someone who could quietly light up an entire room just by being there. And so when I finally made my way through the crowd to introduce myself, well, that first impression never left me. I could tell immediately and unquestionably that Harriet was one of the kindest, warmest, and gentlest souls that I ever had the pleasure of meeting. And it was immediately obvious why everyone was so happy to see her home again. And she was so happy to be back here. She was so, and every Shabbat she walked in and she was just, what a delight to have her. And over the next few months, we got to spend many, many Shabbatot together, and her joy was just infectious. You couldn't help but smile seeing her face and sitting next to her. And as I listened to people sharing memories here and over the last couple of days, one theme just keeps coming up again and again. She never had a negative word to say about anyone or anything. Instead, she chose kindness and always looked for the good. And she taught this to others, not by preaching, but by the quiet example of the way she lived her life. And one of our tradition's highest values, one of the highest values in Judaism is called hakarat hatov, which means to recognize the good, even sometimes to dig it out, to dig deeply, to find the good in everything. And it means more than saying thank you. It's the discipline of training yourself to notice goodness and to see a divine spark in other people and to find blessings in life, even when it's imperfect. And that was Harriet's gift. She seemed to possess an extraordinary ability to see what was good in every person and every situation, even when doing so required a little bit of extra grace and generosity on her part. And there's another Jewish value that Harriet's life embodied. The word Jew itself in Hebrew is Yehud or Yehudi, and it shares the same root with the word for thanks, thankfulness. So gratitude isn't something that Jews only ought to express, which we should. It's actually meant to be a part of who we are, gratitude. And Harriet really exemplified that ideal. She loved life. She loved her family. She loved her community. She loved being Jewish. And she lived with a grateful heart that touched everyone fortunate enough to know her. And maybe that's Harriet's final lesson for all of us. In a world where criticism comes easily and gratitude is just as easily forgotten, Harriet reminds us that holiness often appears in the simplest acts: a smile, a kind word, a generous spirit, a thankful heart, a birthday card, an emoji, an exclamation point, and the willingness to see the good in others before and instead of seeing their faults. We honor Harriet's memory by carrying those values into our own lives, and in doing so, her kindness will continue to bless us all for generations to come. Yehi zichra baruch. May her memory be for a blessing. Psalm 23. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar. Adonai is my shepherd, and there is nothing that I lack. B'inot esher yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenachaleni. God gives me repose in the meadow and leads me by calm waters. Nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, yanecheni b'magle tzedek leman shemo. God restores my soul and guides me along the right path for the sake of God's name. Kam ki eilech begeitz al mavet, lo ira ki ata imadi. Though I walk in the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Shiftecha mishantecha, shiftecha mishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Your rod and your staff comfort me. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, neged sorerai. You prepare a feast before me, before my foes. Dishanta v'shemen roshi, dishanta v'shemen roshi, dishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi revaya. You anoint me with oil, and my cup overflows. Ach tov chesed, yirdefuni kol yimei chayai, v'shavti beveit Adonai, v'shavti beveit Adonai, liorech yamin. Yes, goodness and kindness shall pursue me all of my life, and I shall dwell in Adonai's house for all time. Adonai natan, Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevarach. God has given, God has taken. Praised be the name of God. We have one final prayer that we'll do here before we move to the the graveside, where we will be escorting Harriet to her eternal home. Before I read that, just to give you a little bit of business, please, when we're done, allow the family to exit. I know everyone wants to give a hug and a love, and that does mean a lot, but for now, let's just allow them to get to their cars. Go right up the center, kind of sort of a group hug on either side, and then everyone can just fall in line who wishes to go to the cemetery with us. We do have an escort, so it'll be kind of a straight shot. Following that, the family is going to take some private time to decompress, have a bit of a meal of consolation, and just mourn together. But then tonight at 7 o'clock and tomorrow at 7 o'clock at the home of Gary and Toby Rosen, we will have Shiva Minyanim, tonight at 7 and tomorrow at 7. So those who wish to join us escorting Harriet to the cemetery, please follow us in the processional and allow the family to leave the room first. I'll be reading El Malei Rochamim, which is the traditional prayer of mourning. It means God filled with mercy, dwelling in heaven's heights, bring proper rest beneath the wings of your divine presence, amid the ranks of the holy and the pure, illuminating like the brilliance of the skies, the soul of our beloved Harriet, who has gone to her eternal home. May you, who are the source of mercy, shelter her beneath your wings eternally, and bind her soul among the living, that she may rest in peace. And we say, Amen. El Melei Rachamim, Shoichen Bamomim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kedoshim, Utehorim, Kizoar Rakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Chava Yocheved, Bat Tanchum Ze'ev Uvluma, Shehalacha Le'olama, Began Eden Tehe Menuchata Ana Baal Harachamim Hastireha Beset Kanafecha Liolamim Vayitzror Bitzror Chaim Et Nishmata Adonai Hunachalata Vinucha V'Shalom Al Mishkava Venomar